The Washington Commanders are no strangers to major shifts in strategy when it comes to building a team capable of competing at the highest levels of professional football. Over the past decade, they have fluctuated between cautious rebuilding efforts and aggressive off-season maneuvers, often finding themselves somewhere in the middle, never quite tanking, but rarely elevating to the level of serious contention. Now, as training camp draws near and the 2025 NFL season looms ever closer, a bold move could place them firmly in the national spotlight, trading for Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker T.J. Watt. While no deal has yet materialized, the possibility alone has sparked intense speculation across the NFL landscape. The idea is simple on the surface, yet deeply layered beneath. A struggling defense with clear gaps could be fortified by adding one of the league's most feared defensive playmakers, particularly at a time when Washington's offense seems to be finally catching its stride. The defense, by contrast, remains a work in progress. It's precisely this imbalance that has writers, analysts, and insiders debating whether the Commanders should roll the dice on an unprecedented transaction involving a future Hall of Fame-level pass rusher. CBS Sports' Cody Benjamin recently ignited the conversation further by proposing the Commanders as a realistic and potentially ideal destination for Watt, should the Pittsburgh Steelers decide to part ways with their star linebacker amid ongoing contract disputes. At 30 years old, Watt remains one of the most disruptive forces in the NFL, capable of changing the outcome of a game with a single play. Benjamin pointed out that while Washington primarily utilizes a 4-3 defensive scheme, Watt's versatility and athleticism would allow him to thrive in virtually any system. And under the watchful eye of head coach Dan Quinn, known for his defensive prowess and history of maximizing elite talent, Watt could be deployed in creative, game-altering ways. The scenario evokes memories of Quinn's tenure with the Dallas Cowboys, where he turned Micah Parsons into a multi-positional nightmare for opposing offenses. With Watt's experience and instinct, Quinn could tailor blitz packages and coverage disguises that allow the linebacker to operate with the same kind of freedom, thus supercharging a Washington pass rush that, to this point, has lacked a true headliner since the departure of players like Chase Young and Montez Sweat. In terms of team philosophy, acquiring what would represent a definitive statement of intent. After years of inconsistency and underachievement, the Commanders have entered a new era of front office leadership and player development. Quarterback Jaden Daniels, the dynamic rookie from LSU, represents hope and promise under center. On a rookie contract, he gives Washington a rare financial advantage, one that could be leveraged by spending heavily elsewhere on the roster, such as the defense. It's this fiscal flexibility that makes the potential acquisition of Watt even more viable. With ample cap space projected for the 2026 and 2027 seasons, the Commanders are one of the few teams with both the need and the means to take on Watt's current contract and possibly renegotiate terms for long-term security. Of course, any move of this magnitude comes with its share of complications and risks. The most obvious is financial. Watt is currently entangled in a contract standoff with the Steelers, one that has dragged into the offseason and created tension behind the scenes. Pittsburgh, a team historically known for its loyalty to homegrown talent, now finds itself at a crossroads. With Watt demanding compensation that reflects his elite production and leadership value, the Steelers must weigh whether to meet those demands, restructure other contracts to make room, or accept that a trade might be the most pragmatic solution for all parties. For Washington, absorbing Watt's salary would be a significant commitment. Reports suggest that his base salary, signing bonuses, and performance escalators could push the total financial burden well into the 8-figure range over the next 2 years. But with a rookie quarterback on the roster and limited spending elsewhere, the Commanders are uniquely positioned to handle such a load without sacrificing roster depth. Another layer of complexity involves fit. While Watt is undoubtedly a generational talent, Washington's 4-3 defense traditionally relies on down linemen to generate pressure, rather than stand-up linebackers. However, this schematic limitation is likely overstated, especially given Watt's prior experience playing with his hand in the dirt during certain packages in Pittsburgh. More importantly, Dan Quinn's adaptability as a coach cannot be underestimated. As mentioned earlier, he transformed Parsons into a Swiss Army knife capable of rushing from the edge, dropping into coverage, or even spying mobile quarterbacks. There's little reason to believe he couldn't replicate, or even enhance, that kind of innovation with a veteran like Watt, who boasts a similarly unique skill set. Then there's the leadership aspect. T.J. Watt is not just a statistical marvel, he is the emotional core of any defense he anchors. With the Steelers, he has consistently set the tone, both in practice and on game day. For a relatively young Commanders squad trying to establish a new identity, that presence could be invaluable. Players like Jermaine Davis, Emmanuel Forbes, and Percy Butler, promising talents who have yet to reach their full potential, could benefit immensely from Watt's mentorship, work ethic, and tenacity. The ripple effects of acquiring what would be felt across the locker room. Suddenly, the Commanders' defense would be built around a centerpiece, a gravitational force capable of elevating those around him. Double teams on what would open up opportunities for interior linemen and blitzing safeties. Opposing quarterbacks would be forced to speed up their internal clocks, leading to more mistakes and turnovers. The secondary, often a point of weakness in recent seasons, would be under less pressure to hold coverage for extended periods. In short, Watt's presence could have a transformative impact that goes far beyond the stat sheet. That said, there's still the issue of compensation. What would it take for the Commanders to pry Watt away from Pittsburgh? The Steelers are not known for making panic trades, nor do they typically part with cornerstone players without significant return. A package could involve multiple high draft picks, perhaps a first and second rounder, as well as a young, controllable player on defense. Whether Washington would be willing to meet such a price remains unclear, but if the goal is to win now, it might be the price of admission. There are precedents that support the logic of going all in. Just last year, the San Francisco 49ers traded for Christian McCaffrey in a deal that many thought was too steep at the time. The result? A revitalized offense that came within a heartbeat of the Super Bowl. Similarly, the Los Angeles Rams famously mortgaged draft capital for proven stars like Jalen Ramsey and Von Miller, culminating in a championship. In the modern NFL, where windows of opportunity are narrow and fleeting, boldness often wins. Of course, there is always the risk that the deal backfires. Injuries, scheme mismatch, or locker room friction could derail even the most well-intentioned trade. But for the Commanders, who haven't hoisted a Lombardi trophy since the 1991 season, the potential upside is simply too great to ignore. Adding what would not only bring a generational talent to a team in need of star power, it would also signal to fans, players, and rivals that Washington is serious about contending. It would shift the narrative from one of cautious optimism to aggressive ambition. It would be a declaration that the era of mediocrity is over, replaced by a new ethos centered around excellence and expectation. With training camp fast approaching, the time for hesitation is quickly evaporating. If the Commanders truly want to capitalize on the momentum they've been building, now is the moment to strike. T.J. Watt is more than just a player, he's a catalyst. And in the right environment, with the right coaching and support system, he could be the difference between another forgettable season and a legitimate Super Bowl run. Whether the front office will make that leap remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, the opportunity is there, and the potential rewards are enormous. For a franchise hungry to restore its legacy and claim its place among the league's elite, the answer may well lie in a bold move that brings one of the NFL's fiercest defenders to the nation's capital.